What if the man you were meant to care for was a billionaire locked in a coma, his life hanging by a thread? Anna Monroe, a dedicated nurse, is assigned to the mysterious case of Grant Carter, the city's youngest and most powerful CEO. What starts as a routine job soon turns into something extraordinary as Anna begins to see signs that Grant might be waking up. But his recovery comes with shocking twists: an attempted murder, a betrayed family, and a dangerous secret. Will Anna's unwavering care be enough to help Grant find the truth and love? Watch to discover how one woman's dedication changed everything. The fluorescent lights in Westbridge Private Hospital buzzed ever so softly, casting a sterile glow over the pristine white halls. As Anna Monroe made her way through them, can you believe it? She'd been a nurse here for nearly 2 years, yet today felt so different. The moment she got that unexpected summons to Dr. Harris's office, the head of neurology, a strange, heavy feeling twisted in her chest. Had she messed up somehow? Was she being shipped off to another department? Her heart raced as she took a deep, shaky breath and knocked on the polished mahogany door. "Come in." Dr. Harris's voice called out, and she stepped inside, her eyes catching him standing by the window, hands clasped behind his back, his sharp gaze locked on the glittering city skyline. The air in his office was thick with the scent of antiseptic and rich leather, heavier than she'd ever felt before. "Anna," he said, turning to her with a voice so serious it made her stomach drop. "We've got a patient who needs special care, but let me warn you, this job's not for the faint of heart." Anna's brows knit together. Not for the faint of heart? What kind of patient could this be? She wondered, her voice cautious as she asked, Dr. Harris studied her for a long, tense moment before pointing to a thick medical file on his desk. "Grant Carter," he declared, Anna's breath caught in her throat. Grant Carter? The Grant Carter? Oh my gosh! Even if the name hadn't rung a bell right away, the file's cover screamed the truth. A stark black and white newspaper clipping of a horrific car crash from a year ago. The city's youngest billionaire struck down in a devastating accident. His sleek sports car had careened off a bridge in the dead of night, leaving him in a coma ever since. His name used to blaze across headlines: Grant Carter, the ruthless, untouchable CEO of Carter Enterprises, a man who'd built a colossal empire by 32. Now, he was just a shadow, a ghost trapped in his own lifeless body. His family hardly ever shows up. Dr. Harris went on, his tone grim. Most of the staff just go through the motions, checking boxes. But Grant Carter needs someone who'll truly care, someone dedicated. Anna bit her lip, catching the hesitation in his voice. "And you think I'm that someone?" she asked, her heart pounding. Dr. Harris gave a firm nod. "I do." Anna let out a slow, steadying breath. Caring for a man who might never wake up, a man whose wealth and power once moved mountains, that was no small task. But deep down, she knew her answer before the words even formed. "I'll do it," she said, her voice resolute. Dr. Harris's lips pressed into a thin line, but a spark of approval gleamed in his eyes. "Good. You start tonight." The private suite on the hospital's top floor was eerily silent as Anna stepped inside. Unlike the cold, clinical feel of the other patient rooms, this one screamed luxury. Can you imagine? A sprawling layout, dimmed chandeliers, dark oak furniture, and right in the center of it all lay Grant Carter. Her breath hitched as she took him in. Despite the tubes and machines keeping him alive, despite the stillness of his body, he was breathtaking. A strong jawline, dark lashes fanning against pale skin, broad shoulders peeking from beneath the hospital gown. Wow! If it weren't for that lifeless stillness, you'd swear he was just sleeping. But this was no ordinary sleep. This was a man locked in an endless, silent prison. Anna swallowed hard, stepping closer, her hands adjusting the fourth drip before reaching for the warm cloth set out for him. She hesitated, just for a heartbeat, then gently pressed it to his skin. The moment she touched him, a strange chill shot down her spine. Oh, what was that? It was like he could sense her. Like somewhere deep in his unconscious mind, he knew she was there. A soft beep from the heart monitor broke the silence. Steady and rhythmic, Anna shook off the eerie feeling and got to work, carefully wiping his arms, his chest, making sure he was clean and cared for. "Guess you don't get a say in this, huh?" she murmured, almost to herself. Silence. I'll take that as a no. A small smile tugged at her lips. Despite the weight of it all, days blurred into a routine. Every morning and evening, Anna bathed him, changed his sheets, checked his vitals. But soon, it wasn't just about the medical stuff, oh no. She started talking to him, sharing little stories about her day, about the world beyond his window. "You should see the cafeteria food, Grant. It's an absolute tragedy. Even a billionaire like you wouldn't survive it." Silence. "I don't even know why I'm chatting away like this. Maybe I just love hearing my own voice." Silence. "Or maybe, just maybe, you're actually listening." The heart monitor beeped steadily, almost like it was answering her. Could he really be hearing her? Maybe, just maybe, he was. Anna hummed a soft tune as she dipped a clean washcloth into warm water. The sterile quiet of Grant's private suite had become familiar over the weeks. The steady beep of the heart monitor, the faint hum of the fourth drip, it was all just background noise now. She leaned over the bed, gently wiping Grant's face, her fingers careful but precise. "You know," she said, her voice light, "I read somewhere that people in comas can still hear things. So, technically, you're the worst listener I've ever met." No response, of course. She sighed, shaking her head. "It's fine, I'm used to talking to myself by now." She moved to clean the curve of his jaw when wait, what was that? A slight movement. Her breath caught. Had she imagined it? She froze, staring at his hand. Nothing. His fingers lay still against the crisp white sheets. Anna let out a nervous laugh. "Great, now I'm seeing things. Maybe I'm the one who needs a hospital bed." But the unease clung to her, and over the next few days, it happened again. The second time, she was adjusting his pillow, not even looking, when she felt it the faintest pressure against her wrist. Her head snapped down. Grant's hand had shifted, just a tiny bit, but enough to make her stomach flip. "Grant?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Silence. Just the same rhythmic beep, beep, beep of the monitor. She placed her hand over his, feeling his warmth, his stillness, the possibility of movement. Nothing. Was she losing it? Or was something really happening? Oh, she couldn't shake that feeling. Anna marched straight to Dr. Harris to report it. The doctor raised a skeptical brow. "I think so," Anna admitted, her cheeks flushing. "At first, I thought I was imagining it, but it keeps happening." His fingers twitch, his hand shifts. Just a little, it's small, but it's there. "Doc." Harris leaned back in his chair, deep in thought. "We'll run some tests," he said at last. "But don't get your hopes up too high, Anna. It might just be muscle spasms." Anna nodded, but deep down, she didn't buy it. She knew something was happening. And when the test results came back, she wasn't shocked. "There's increased brain activity," Dr. Harris told her. his voice tinged with surprise. His neurological responses are stronger than before. Anna's heart soared. "So he's waking up?" she asked, her eyes wide. "Doctor." Harris hesitated. "Not necessarily. It could mean anything, but it's a good sign." It wasn't the answer she dreamed of, but it was enough to keep her going. That night, sitting by his bed, Anna couldn't stop talking to Grant. "I don't know if you can hear me, but something tells me you can," she murmured, her voice soft but hopeful. She glanced at his face, those strong features still so still, but for the first time, she didn't feel alone in that room. So she kept talking, spilling stories about her day, the patients who drove her up the wall, that rude doctor on the 3rd floor who kept stealing her coffee. Can you believe the nerve? She told him about her childhood, growing up in a tiny town, dreaming of becoming a nurse. And as she spoke, she had no idea that deep in the silence of his coma, Grant was listening. The morning sun poured through the hospital room's wide windows, bathing Grant Carter's motionless form in a warm, golden glow. The heart monitor's beeping filled the quiet, steady as ever, just like it had been for the past year. Anna stood by the bed, rolling up her sleeves. Another day, another routine bath, another round of talking to someone who might never answer. She dipped a warm cloth into the basin, wrung it out, and started gently wiping Grant's chest, her movements careful and precise. "You know, Grant," she said, a faint smile playing on her lips. "I was thinking about getting a dog. I need someone to listen to me who won't just lie there, ignoring me all day." Silence. She sighed. "Okay, rude. I was just trying to make conversation." She reached for his arm, the cloth gliding over his skin, her fingers brushing his wrist. And then, oh my God, his fingers tightened around her wrist. Anna froze. A sharp breath stuck in her throat as she stared at his hand. The pressure was faint, gentle, weak, hesitant, but it was there. Oh my God. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. She wanted to believe it was just another reflex, another meaningless twitch. But no, it wasn't. Because then, Grant's eyes snapped open. Anna couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. For months, she'd stared at those closed eyelids, praying for any sign of life. And now, those deep ocean blue eyes were staring right at her, confused, unfocused, vulnerable but alive. Grant's lips parted, his voice a hoarse, barely there whisper, but oh, it was real. Company. Anna's whole body tensed, her knees nearly giving out, her breath caught between disbelief and pure panic. He spoke. He woke up. How was this possible? The basin of water slipped from her grip, splashing across the pristine white floor as she stumbled back. Oh my God. Her instincts kicked in, and she lunged for the emergency button on the wall, slamming it with all her might. A loud alarm blared through the hallway. Seconds later, the door flew open, and a team of doctors and nurses burst in. Dr. Harris at the front. "What happened?" he demanded, rushing to Grant's bedside, already checking his vitals. Anna's voice trembled. He grabbed my hand. He opened his eyes. She turned back to Grant, still unable to believe it. His chest rose and fell shakily, his eyes darting around the room, trying to make sense of where he was, what was happening. He wasn't fully aware, not yet, but he was here. Oh, what a miracle. Doctor. Harris's face twisted from shock to fierce determination. Oh, what a moment. "Get me a neurological team, now," he barked, and the room erupted into chaos. Nurses scrambled, their voices overlapping in a frenzy of disbelief. As they rushed to perform tests, the air buzzed with urgency. But Anna? She couldn't tear her eyes away from Grant. Can you imagine? Those deep, ocean blue eyes locked onto hers again, and this time, they didn't waver. It was as if he felt her gaze, pulling him back from the abyss. Everything was moving so fast, doctors firing questions, flashing lights into his pupils, testing his motor functions, but through the whirlwind, Grant's eyes kept drifting back to Anna. Her heart pounded as she stepped forward, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Grant," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Do you remember anything?" He stared at her, blinking slowly, a long, heavy silence stretching between them. Then, oh my gosh! His fingers twitched again, and before she could even process it, he reached for her hand, weak and slow, but so deliberate. His grip closed around hers, fragile yet firm, like he'd known her forever. Anna's breath caught. Could this really be happening? Doctor. Harris snapped his head up. "Grant, do you know who she is?" Grant didn't answer right away, his brows furrowing, his gaze never leaving Anna. "I don't know," he murmured, his voice rough and scratchy from months of silence. "But I feel like I should." A chill raced down Anna's spine. Even though Grant Carter didn't remember her, something deep inside him, some spark of his soul did. The days after Grant's miraculous awakening were a blur of tests, therapy, and endless questions. Can you believe it? The doctors were floored by his recovery. Physically, he was weak, his muscles stiff from a year of immobility, but he was improving, regaining strength through grueling rehabilitation. But mentally, oh, that was a whole different battle. Grant couldn't recall a single thing about the accident, and the more they pressed him for details, the more frustrated he grew. Can you imagine the torment? "Grant, let's try again, Dr. C," Harris said during one of their sessions, his tone patient but firm. "What's the last thing you remember?" Grant rubbed his temples, his face tense, almost pained. I don't know anything. Where I was, what I was doing, it's all gone." He exhaled sharply, his voice laced with irritation. "I told you, it's just pieces, flashes." "Doc," Harris leaned forward. "Tell me about them." A long, heavy silence followed. Then Grant closed his eyes, his brows knitting together. "I remember a feeling," he said slowly, his voice uncertain, like something was wrong, like I was in danger. Anna, who'd been listening quietly from the side, froze. Oh, what did that mean? Grant's fingers clenched as he continued. There was a road, headlights, and then nothing, just black. Dr. Harris sighed. It's common for trauma victims to block out painful memories. They might come back on their own. For now, we focus on recovery. Grant nodded, but Anna could see the frustration etched in his clenched jaw. Deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Could there be more to this? That night, Anna couldn't stop thinking about it. Her mind was racing. She slipped into the hospital archives, her heart pounding. She'd read Grant's file before, but this time, she pored over every detail with fresh, determined eyes. And then, oh my God, she saw it. Something she'd missed before. The accident reconstruction team's report stated that Grant's brakes had failed, not worn out, not malfunctioned, tampered. A cold chill gripped her spine. This wasn't just a tragic crash. Someone had wanted Grant dead. Who could do such a thing? Taking a shaky breath, she closed the file, her hands trembling. She had to tell him. If someone had tried to kill him once, what was stopping them from trying again? Grant's recovery was nothing short of a miracle. Can you believe how fast he was progressing? In just a few weeks, he went from being bedridden to sitting up, eating on his own, and speaking in full sentences. Now, with physical therapy, he was learning to walk again. And Anna was there for every single step, every struggle, Every moment he wanted to throw in the towel. "I can't do this," Grant muttered, gripping the parallel bars so tightly his knuckles turned white as he tried to lift himself. "Yes, you can," Anna shot back, standing firm beside him. "You've come so far. Grant, don't you dare stop now." He turned to her, his breathing heavy, sweat beading on his forehead. She wasn't just tossing out empty words. She believed in him with every fiber of her being. And that made him believe in himself. With a determined exhale, he took another step forward, and Anna's face lit up like the sun. "That's it!" she cried, her voice bursting with pride. For the first time since waking up, Grant smiled not out of politeness, not out of duty, but because he felt alive again. And oh, he knew exactly who to thank for that. Anna was different. She was a beacon in his darkness. She didn't treat him like some charity case or a billionaire trapped in a hospital bed. To her, he was just Grant, and that's why he found himself drawn to her, like a moth to a flame. Whenever she was in the room, the world felt lighter, brighter. Whenever she spoke, her voice pulled him out of the shadows still lurking in his mind. And whenever she touched him, a gentle hand on his arm to steady him, a quick adjustment of his pillow, his skin tingled with something he couldn't quite name. What was this feeling? One night, after a brutally long therapy session, Anna flashed him a warm smile. "How about some fresh air? It might do you some good." Grant agreed, but oh, he had no idea how transformative it would be. Stepping outside those hospital walls, the cool night air brushed against his skin. The trees rustled softly, and the moon cast a gentle glow over everything. Can you picture it? For the first time, he felt like a person again, not a patient, not a puzzle with missing pieces, just himself. And right beside him was Anna. They walked slowly, her hand on his arm for support. At first, he thought it was just part of her job, but then he noticed, oh wow, the way her fingers lingered on his wrist, the shy glances she stole when she thought he wasn't looking, the way her breath hitched when he stepped just a little too close, and suddenly, he knew she felt it too. That pull, that unspoken bond between them. They paused near a small stone bench, the moonlight painting shadows across the garden. Grant turned to face her, his heart racing for a whole new reason. Anna opened her mouth to speak, but before she could, he took her hand. Oh, what a moment! Her lips parted in surprise, her eyes searching his. "I don't remember anything about my life before this," he admitted, his voice low and raw. "But I know one thing for sure." Anna swallowed hard. "What?" she whispered. He tightened his grip on her fingers. "I trust you." Those words were simple, but to him, they were everything. And the way Anna's breath caught, the way her cheeks flushed under the moonlight, the way she didn't pull away, she understood. For now, that was enough. Oh, how it warmed his heart. But the night was restless. Grant tossed and turned in his hospital bed, his body weak but his mind a storm. And then bam, a flash of memory hit him like a tidal wave. The road was dark, rain hammering the windshield, his wipers barely keeping up. He gripped the steering wheel, his mind foggy from a tense meeting he'd just left. Something felt wrong. Then, out of nowhere, headlights, blinding and rushing straight at him. A black SUV swerved into his lane at full speed. Grant yanked the wheel, tires screeching on the slick pavement. The brakes, they didn't work. His heart pounded as he fought for control, and just before the crash, his eyes caught something, a shadowy figure on the roadside, just watching. Then, blackness. Grant's eyes flew open, his breath ragged, sweat clinging to his skin. The memory was so vivid, so real. He knew the truth now. This was no accident. Someone had tried to kill him. Anna saw the change in him the second she stepped into his room the next morning. His usual smirk was gone, his body tense, his hands balled into fists. "Grant," she asked softly, "what's wrong?" His piercing blue eyes locked onto hers, blazing with intensity. "I remember something." Anna's stomach plummeted. "The accident?" He nodded stiffly. "It wasn't an accident, Anna. Someone tampered with my brakes, and there was a man standing on the side of the road, just watching as my car crashed. Chills raced down her spine. Everything she'd feared was true. But who? Why? Anna and Grant spent the next few days digging deeper, poring over his files, company records, anything that might point to someone wanting him gone. And then, oh, the shock, they found it. A financial transfer. A massive sum of money wired just days before the accident. The recipient? A known criminal with a history of staging crashes. And the sender? Nathan Carter Grant's half-brother. The truth hit like a sledgehammer. "It was him," Grant whispered, gripping the table's edge, his voice trembling with betrayal. Nathan, always jealous, always resentful, believing Grant was the favorite who'd inherited their father's legacy while he was left in the dust. And now, he'd tried to wipe Grant out completely. Anna's heart ached. Grant, he wanted you dead. Grant's jaw tightened, his eyes burning. And now, I'm going to make sure he pays. That evening, they arranged a face-to-face with Nathan in a dimly lit study at the Carter estate. Nathan lounged in a leather chair, swirling a glass of whiskey, a smug smirk on his face as they entered. "Well, well," he sneered. "The dead man walks." Grant's eyes blazed with fury. "Why did you do it, Nathan?" Nathan took a slow, deliberate sip. "You already know why." Anna stepped forward, her voice shaking with anger. "You tried to kill your own brother? For what? Money? Power?" Nathan's smirk vanished. "For everything that should have been mine," he spat. "You were always the golden child, the heir, the one who got it all handed to him. I was sick of waiting for my turn." Grant's fists clenched. "So, you hired someone to sabotage my car?" Nathan's laugh was cold, venomous. "I didn't think you'd survive. But hey, miracles happen, right?" Anna's chest burned with rage. How could Nathan be so heartless? But before she could unleash a single word, the door burst open with a bang, and two uniformed officers stormed in. Nathan's face drained of color, his smug smirk vanishing like smoke. "Nathan Carter," one officer declared, his voice booming. "You're under arrest for attempted murder." Nathan spun toward Grant, his eyes wild with panic. "You set me up," he shrieked. Grant tilted his head, his voice calm but razor sharp. "No, brother, you set yourself up." Oh, what a moment. Nathan was dragged away in handcuffs, his empty threats echoing as he screamed into the void. The door slammed shut, and a heavy silence settled over the room. Grant let out a long, shaky exhale, his shoulders finally relaxing for the first time since he'd woken up. It was over. Can you believe it? Justice had been served, and Grant was finally free. The Carter estate had always been a towering cold fortress of wealth, built on generations of power. But tonight? Oh, it felt so different as Anna stepped into the dimly lit dining hall. The space was warm, intimate, almost magical. Soft candlelight danced across an elegantly set table by the large glass windows, framing the glittering city skyline. The sweet scent of fresh roses filled the air, and a bottle of wine sat chilling next to two perfectly placed plates. Wow! Anna's breath caught in her throat. "Grant, what is all this?" she asked, turning to face him, her heart fluttering. Grant stood behind her, hands tucked in his pockets, his blue eyes soft yet blazing with intensity. "Dinner," he said simply, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Just you and me." Anna's chest tightened. Oh, how could something so simple feel so huge? The past few weeks had been a whirlwind, his recovery, uncovering the truth about his accident, watching his brother get hauled away in cuffs. But now, with the storm behind them, this quiet moment felt even scarier, like standing on the edge of something life-changing. As they sat down, Anna couldn't ignore the way Grant looked at her, like he was memorizing every curve of her face, like she was something fragile and precious all at once. "You're awfully quiet," she teased, flashing a playful smile. "That's not like you," he exhaled, swirling his wine glass, his fingers tracing the rim. "I've been thinking." She raised an eyebrow, grinning. "Oh, that's dangerous." He didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned forward, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that stole her breath. "Anna, do you know how many people walked away from me when I was in that coma?" Her smile faded. She knew. She'd seen it up close. His family treating him like a burden. His so-called friends moving on without a backward glance. It broke her heart. The only reason he'd survived that endless darkness was because someone stayed, because she stayed. "But you didn't," Grant murmured, his voice low and raw. "You were there, day after day, taking care of me when I couldn't even open my eyes, when I was nothing but a lost cause to everyone else. You never gave up on me." Anna's throat tightened, tears prickling her eyes. She'd never thought of it that way. She'd just done what felt right. But to Grant, it had meant everything. He leaned closer, his fingers brushing hers on the table, sending a spark through her skin. "Anna, I have everything," he said, his voice soft but unwavering. "Money, power, influence, but none of it means a thing without you." Anna's breath hitched. Oh my gosh, was he really saying this? "Grant, let me finish," he whispered, his hand closing around hers, his thumb tracing slow, delicate circles against her skin. "I don't know how it happened, when it started, but I know this. Every moment I was trapped in that coma, you were the one keeping me alive. You were my light in the dark, Anna." Her eyes burned with tears as his words sank in. "I love you." The words crashed into her like a wave, stealing her breath, not because she hadn't felt it too, but because hearing it from him made it so real. Grant Carter, the man who'd once ruled a world of cold deals and power plays, was sitting here, baring his soul. For the first time in her life, Anna felt truly, completely, irrevocably cherished. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she smiled through them. "Grant," she whispered, her voice trembling, "you have no idea how much that means to me." He reached up, gently wiping a tear from her face. His touch so tender, it melted her heart. "Then let me show you," he said, leaning in, pressing his forehead against hers. Oh, Anna knew this was only the beginning. Months had passed since that unforgettable night when Grant poured out his heart, and everything had changed, can you imagine? Grant had fully recovered, rebuilding his strength through countless hours of rehabilitation and training. His body was no longer frail, no longer chained by the accident that nearly stole his life. Now he was Grant Carter again, commanding the boardroom at Carter Enterprises, with the confidence of a man who'd faced hell and come out stronger. But there was one big difference from the man he'd been before. This time, he wasn't alone. This time, he had Anna, and soon, if she said yes, she'd be his forever. The rooftop of the Carter estate glowed under the soft light of the setting sun, casting warm, golden hues across the city skyline. Oh, what a view! Anna stood at the edge, gazing out, completely unaware of what was coming. "It's so beautiful up here," she murmured, the breeze teasing her hair. Grant, standing behind her, smiled, his heart pounding. "Not as beautiful as you." She turned to him, rolling her eyes with a playful grin. Smooth, Carter real smooth. But her teasing faded when she caught the look in his eyes, something deeper, more certain, more infinite. Before she could ask, He took a deep breath and, oh my God, dropped to one knee. Anna's breath caught, her hands flying to her mouth as Grant pulled out a small velvet box, flipping it open to reveal the most stunning engagement ring she'd ever seen. An elegant diamond sparkling in a delicate platinum band. But it wasn't the ring that stole her breath, it was him. The way his voice trembled as he whispered, "Anna, you didn't just save my life, you became my life." Her heart pounded so hard she could hear it. "Before you, I had everything: money, power, success. But I was missing something. I was missing you. You're the reason I fought to live. The reason I found myself again. And now, I want to spend the rest of my life showing you just how much you mean to me." He held up the ring, his eyes never leaving hers. "Anna Monroe, will you marry me?" The world stopped. Can you even imagine? Anna couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, only nod frantically as laughter and tears spilled over. "Yes," she finally choked out, her voice breaking. "Yes, Grant. 1,000 times yes." Grant exhaled, relief flooding his face as he slid the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into his arms, into his world, into forever. Their lips met under the fading sunlight, and Anna knew this was where she belonged. Always. The Carter estate had never looked more radiant than on their wedding day. Oh, it was like a dream. The gardens were transformed into an enchanting wonderland, with white roses lining the pathways, twinkling lights draped over towering oak trees, and soft music floating through the air as guests gathered in awe. Anna stood at the grand entrance, her elegant white gown shimmering, her heart racing like a drum. "Are you ready?" Lisa, her maid of honor, whispered beside her. Anna took a deep breath, her fingers tightening around her bouquet, then looked up, and there he was. Grant stood at the altar, dashing in a classic black tuxedo, gazing at her like she was the only person in the universe. Her nerves melted away. She stepped forward, walking down the aisle with unshakable certainty, each step pulling her closer to forever. When she reached him, Grant took her hands, his eyes shining with pure, unfiltered love. Their vows poured out, their promises sealed not just in words, but in the unbreakable bond, forged through every hardship, every battle, every moment of unwavering devotion. "I now pronounce you husband and wife." A cheer erupted as Grant cupped her face, pressing a kiss against her lips so heartfelt, so meaningful, it felt like the world stopped. As the crowd roared, Anna realized this wasn't the end of their story, it was just the beginning. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Grant and Anna slipped away from the celebration, strolling hand in hand through the gardens, soaking in their new reality. No more hospitals, no more loneliness, no more pain, just them. Together, always. Grant squeezed her hand, gently. "You know," he murmured, "I thought I had everything before I met you." Anna smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. "And now?" He looked down at her, his expression soft, devoted, endless. "Now I know none of it matters, because you are the greatest thing that's ever happened to me." Anna blinked back tears, overwhelmed by the depth of his words. As they walked toward the golden glow of the setting sun, she knew they'd face storms, darkness, near-death horrors, but love had won. With Grant by her side, Anna was finally home. Their story stood as a testament to something powerful. Love isn't just about finding someone, it's about standing by them through every storm. Anna never gave up on Grant, even when the world had. And in the end, it was love, not money or power, that truly saved him.